from the CyberHub bunker and studio, you're tuning in to the CyberHub podcast. And now for your host and CISO, James Azar.
Good morning. Happy Monday, August 30th, 2021. Welcome to another edition of our Practitioner Brief. Our first one for the week after a very busy cyber weekend. It used to be that Mondays I would scramble to find stories. Today I had so many to choose from. I had to wind it down. So we'll talk about all of those, including the Hive Ransomware, the Azure database vulnerability, a new phishing Microsoft issue, T-Mobile's actual, let's talk actual. I haven't discussed the T-Mobile story all week because there were no facts. Now there's some facts. We'll talk about it a little bit more. And then another SCADA vulnerability, folks. For all of you tuning in this morning, we're live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. Please make sure to subscribe or follow our channel. If you're not following us on YouTube, you should. That's where I put the CISO Talk Shorts, which you don't want to miss. Christopher, good morning from awesome South Florida. Good morning to Anthony. Good morning to the awesome Matt Lee. Good morning and coffee cup cheers. Good morning, David, Michael, Mr. Christoph. It is coffee time, good sir. But before we do that, a few announcements. One, this show would not be possible without our good friends over at Know4 and Ativo Networks. So make sure you check them out. Show them a little bit of love and support if you're looking for any type of awareness or security solutions. Another thing, Cyber Week Georgia, supposed to go on from September 21st to the 23rd. We've had to take it down to one day because of Delta and not Delta Airlines, but Delta, the other strain of COVID. So September 21st, awesome event. I'll be there all day, be emceeing the event. I'll be hosting a incident war game and briefing. So you'll definitely want to go to that. Go to cyberweekgeorgia.com to get access to that. Good morning to Brent. If you're interested to attend or sponsor, just PM me and I'll connect you with the right folks to help you out for Cyber Week Georgia. That'll be right here in Atlanta, September 21st. It was supposed to be a full week. We have to take it down to one day, but the full week will be in February. End of February, I believe February 20th to the 23rd is the date on the website. So go and check that out as well. Now, without further ado, time to drink our morning cup of coffee. It's Monday morning. If you played some golf over the weekend, you'll appreciate my Master's cup, my double espresso, coffee cup cheers, chai cup cheers, whatever your morning beverage is. Let us know what it is in the comments. I'm going to start asking you guys that. What are you drinking? What coffee? Brand? And is this your first or second cup of the day? Cheers. I love a good espresso. Good morning to Chimeria. I hope I said your name correctly. And Marcia, good morning to you as well. Let's get right into our stories. So the FBI shares critical IOCs for the Hive ransomware attack. The FBI published an alert providing technical details and indicators of compromise for attacks that employ the Hive ransomware. It was first observed in June of 2021, so just several months. The ransomware operation is affiliate-based with numerous TTPs employed, which makes mitigation challenging, according to the FBI, and that's what this show is all about. So Hive ransomware attacks use diverse mechanisms to compromise business networks, including phishing emails for initial access and remote desktop protocol for lateral movements. They then exfiltrate data of interest, encrypt systems on the network. They leave a note per system that is encrypted, with information of how to pay the ransom and threatening to make the data public on the Hive Leaks Tour website. On the compromised machine, the ransomware seeks to stop the process of backup and cybersecurity and file copying application. It also wants to ensure that it can encrypt all targeting files. The encrypted files are typically appended, and the double file extension of .key.hive or .key. And victims are warned that their data is lost if the key files are modified, renamed, or deleted, according to the FBI. So victims are typically directed to the Tor website, but Palo Alto Networks notes that Hive has hit at least 28 organizations since June, all of which are listed on the extortion site. These include a European airline company, 3 organizations based in the U.S. hardware, retail, manufacturing, and law sectors. The Bureau encourages victims to share information related to the attack as well. So Harshil's having chai cup cheers. First cup for you this morning. Black Rifle Coffee Company, dark roast. Yes, Chris. Cafe Bustelo. That's a good brand right there. And David, good morning to you as well. Homemade tea for this LinkedIn user. And good morning to the awesome James McQuiggan. We'll move to our next story today, folks. Microsoft warns of widespread phishing attacks using open redirects. So here's the thing with this. We've known about these for a while, right? Redirects is just a simple part of, not a simple part, it's a critical part of phishing, redirecting you to a trusted page. But here's the difference here. They're actually putting a CAPTCHA verification to make the users believe that they're on the right page so that everything seems legitimate, kosher. This is according to the Microsoft 365 Defender threat intel team that says attackers combine these links with social engineering bases that impersonate well-known productivity tools and services to lure users into clicking. So part of it can be Zoom, part of it could be your Office 365, part of it could be your Gmail, could be a bunch of different things. But as you take a look here, there's actually a Zoom link. It looks like a Zoom link. You're invited to a Zoom conference call. When you look at the link, it's really got nothing to do with Zoom, and you can see the actual destination here for the potential victims. However, most people didn't report it and didn't think it was that because of the CAPTCHA, which brings about a very, very interesting conversation. Is CAPTCHA a good thing or a bad thing? I'm curious. What do you guys think? Put it in the comments. So it's a good thing because it's supposed to stop bots. But now we know that threat actors are using it to really build confidence with our users. So when do we use CAPTCHA? And what's the right way to use CAPTCHA? Is a very interesting discussion to be had based on this phishing, based on the success that these phishing campaigns have had. These top-level domains are going to .xyz, .club, .shop, .online. So keep in mind, you can also, by the way, block some of these domains. If there's no business use for them, then block them through your network. So that way, at least people can get to them, or at least block them on the company-provided devices if you can. So if they hit there, that works. Michael thinks CAPTCHA is bad. Marcia thinks not effective anymore. Math works best. Nearly worthless with today's AI, according to the awesome Brent. I completely agree with all of those. But here's the thing. Our consumers are users. So we're cybersecurity professionals. We're wearing that hat. Let me take that hat off for a second. Let me put an average user. If I see CAPTCHA, I go, oh, it's wanting me to make sure I'm human. This is totally legitimate. And I don't report it. And that, I think, is really, really the deal here. That's why I wanted to bring this up. One, we should probably talk a little bit more about CAPTCHA within our cyber awareness training. Number two, we should look at other ways to deploy CAPTCHA so that it's actually really, really effective. So keep those in mind as well. We'll move to the Azure Cosmos database vulnerability. So it's also referred to as Chaos DB, the security hole, which was publicly disclosed last week by researchers with cloud security firm Wiz. Microsoft has been notified of the issue roughly 1 week before, immediately took the necessary steps to address it. It's residing in the Jupyter Notebook feature of Cosmos DB. The bug could have been exploited to obtain valid credentials that would have allowed for takeover of the Cosmos DB accounts with full administrative rights. One of the things people don't talk about here is once you get that, you actually get access to Active Directory, and we all know where things escalate from Active Directory. This vulnerability only affects a subset of customers who had the Jupyter Notebook feature enabled. Notifications have been sent to all customers that could be potentially affected due to the researcher activity, advising that they regenerate their primary read-write key according to Microsoft. The company also notes that other keys associated with Cosmos DP accounts, such as secondary read-write keys or the primary and secondary read-only keys, were not vulnerable. Furthermore, Microsoft underlines that only those customers who were notified of the issue were potentially impacted. The company also recommends as a best practice that Azure Cosmos DP customers employ network protection mechanisms to prevent unauthorized access, that they use role-based access control or implement regularly scheduled key rotation, and that they apply the security best practices detailed in the Cosmos DP documentation. Cosmos is essentially a flagship product for Azure and for Microsoft. It's where they're trying to take on AWS. So this vulnerability, while not very big essentially in nature, nonetheless would bring that on. I want to move to our fourth story of the day, and one that I haven't talked about all week. People were calling me out on it, saying, why aren't you talking T-Mobile? No facts. None. There were no facts. What do you want me to talk about? The fact that they were breached? Guess what? We all go through it. My heart goes out to the team over at T-Mobile. My heart goes out because I've been watching all these articles, and it's all just, I won't click on them. I see the headline, and I determine right then and there, I'm not given clickbait. And some of the publication in our industry should be shameful of themselves for even allowing some of these comments and some of these headlines. They should go back and examine how they write stories, especially in an industry where we don't need to shame the victims. We need to support victims of crime is what we need to do. We don't tend to learn from history. T-Mobile CEO Mike Sievert said that the criminals behind the carrier's latest massive data breach brute forced their way through T-Mobile's network after gaining access to a testing environment. The attacker couldn't exfiltrate any financial data like credit card information, debit, or other payment. However, they did steal records belonging to 54.6 million current, former, or prospective T-Mobile customers that contained social security numbers, phone numbers, name, addresses, date of birth, T-Mobile prepaid PINs, and valid ID information. According to Cyber, they're coordinating with law enforcement on the criminal investigations. They're not giving out any more details. We do know that this was now a brute force attack, folks. So hopefully they'll release more information as it becomes available where it doesn't hurt the investigation, or at least allow law enforcement to do that so that we all know the TTPs. The alleged criminal behind this one claims that T-Mobile had bad security. I am not going to give the rest of this story the time of day. I am going to stick with the fact that they were victims of a crime. Whether they had good or bad security, to me, is, I don't want to say irrelevant, but security is very, very difficult. And it appears that at least some part of their data, some part of it was brute forced, meaning this wasn't just a simple vulnerability, but rather some sort of misconfiguration likely between their testing environments and their live environments, unless they had actual data in their testing environment and didn't secure their testing environment, then that's a security oversight. But a lot of times people look at security and go, that's horrible, but sometimes security doesn't even know that exists in organizations of the size of T-Mobile, especially after a merger and acquisition. So again, I want to give a valid perspective and not just one where we call out someone when we don't have all the details yet. If we need to, we will. Good morning to Nick. Welcome, buddy. All right. Our final story of the day is an exploitation of flaws in Delta energy management systems could have dire consequences. The Delta DIA energy product vulnerability was disclosed last week by CISA and the researcher Michael Heinzel. The security holes were reported to the vendor in April, but they have yet to be patched. CISA says patches are expected to become available on September 15th. In the meantime, organizations using the affected product have been advised to implement mitigations to reduce the risk of exploitation. Here's why I bring this up, because this is a blind SQL injection bug, and it has 8 vulnerabilities in total. They released this. They could have waited 2 more weeks to release this message right when the patch was available. Now, here's what's going to happen. If you didn't mitigate this because you were like, it's not public, no one really knows, it's not being, I don't need to mitigate this, I've got other things to worry about. Now I've got to go mitigate it because the moment this story went live, within 24 hours, there's someone out there doing just this because we've essentially given them the playbook. And so if you are in the kind of business where you're using these Delta products, please, please, please make sure you use the mitigations that CISA has issued in order to ensure that you don't fall victim to these crimes. Folks, that's it for our practitioner brief today. I'll be back again tomorrow live right here at 9 a.m. on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Please make sure to subscribe, share today's podcast. Join me tomorrow. Get your cup of coffee ready. We're going to be talking a little bit of coffee tomorrow, just a tiny bit. I'm going to start dedicating a day a week to talk a little bit of coffee. So we'll talk a little bit of coffee. I want to hear your favorite beverage of choice in the morning. And I'll be doing some stuff on my LinkedIn story and also on our YouTube page. So if you have not gone to the CyberHub Podcast YouTube page and subscribe, please go do so now. I'm going to do a coffee playlist, and it's going to be all the different coffees I drink, all the different machines, all the different stuff. You guys definitely want to check it out. I'm telling you, coffee and cyber, we need it, because when you're like the folks at T-Mobile working around the clock to restore something, the only thing that keeps you going is pretty much coffee and Red Bull. And, well, just coffee's better. So that's my personal opinion, folks. Have a great rest of the day. Thank you, everyone, for watching today's show. Again, see you all very soon. And Cyber Week Georgia, go check it out, cyberweekgeorgia.com. We'll have a lot more information coming out. Come and hang out with me on September 21st. Until then, cheers and have a great rest of the day, folks.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.